Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Nicholas Sheffer, holistic chiropractor for 34 years. I'd like to touch on the immune system lightly and just give you a couple other informational systems that will help explain the immune system. We have a lot of autoimmune disorders, which means your body's attacking itself. The Center of Disease Control states that if you have an autoimmune disorder, you have the ability to contract and are acceptable or susceptible to developing one of 150 different diseases. Of course, psoriasis is an autoimmune disorder where the body's attacking itself. We can go on and on. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, says this: look to the spine for the cause of disease, and your medicine is your food, and food is your medicine. And then he also has another comment that he talks about leaves being your medicine. Kind of interesting. So when we go back and look at three of the major quotes that I have put in my little chest of information, one is Thomas Edison that says look for the care of the frame of the human body. We have Hippocrates who says look to the spine for the cause of disease. And so these are directly related to, and also the third one is the Chinese 8 Secrets of Health that talks about tissue manipulation. So the Chinese oldest scroll in the world with 8 health secrets talks about tissue manipulation. Thomas Edison talks about care of the human frame. And then we also have the last one of Hippocrates, the father of medicine. So the immune system, the best way to keep it strong is to make sure that you have the 31 nutrients in your body required by the Department of Agriculture. And there's also 34 more that are not in that RDA list that you need every single day. So remember, if you lack one nutrient, and they're different, you will not make 212 enzymes. If you lack zinc, there's 21 different types of zinc. There are 16 different kinds of magnesium, which spins off into 352 other additional chemical reactions, and the list goes on and on. So that's why the best way to stay healthy is to protect your immune system with proper nutrition, and we can certainly help you with that. Now, with further ado, I'm going to tie into and show you the explanation of the adrenal gland, and I'm going to draw this out for you, and I'm going to explain approximately. Well, before I go into that, I'd like to show you this. This is a picture of an old Cadillac, and it says proper maintenance extends life. A car is no different than us, except you can't replace your life, but you can always buy another car. So if you take care of a car and wax it right and service it, it'll last a long time. So no one has really given us a book of how do we really take care of ourselves. That's the problem. So what we're going to do today, I am going to explain the adrenal gland and as it relates to 14 different diseases in your body. This, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely going to be incredible. Now, just so we understand each other here, the adrenal gland does not look like this, but it sits on top of a kidney. Okay? Looks like I'm running out of ink. There we go. I should buy a space pen invented by NASA because you can write it upside down and the ink won't come out. And they do have those, by the way. Anyway, this is your kidney right here. And the adrenal gland sits on top of the kidney. There's 2 of them. So I drew a triangle to make it very easy for you. This is called the adrenal cortex. Adrenal cortex. Okay? And cortex in Greek means outside or tree bark. And this is referred to as the adrenal medulla. If you want donuts, you go to the donut factory and they make donuts. If you want wood, you go to the place where they make the wood from the trees. This is your factory in your body. So what the adrenal cortex does, it produces glucocorticoids. Naturally, it's a natural sugar if it's functioning right. Because remember, if you lack calcium, your bones will fall apart. So you have to feed this with the proper nutrition, and it's incredibly complicated. The second function of the adrenal cortex is it produces mineral glucocorticoids. I'm just going to abbreviate this due to my extreme situation. And mineral glucocorticoids are released in response to allergies. This has to do, glucocorticoids, with your sugar balance. The third thing that the adrenal cortex produces is DHEA, the anti-aging mother hormone. And this also produces, number 4, and it controls your sodium and potassium pump, which is your salt pump. Now, the adrenal medulla, if it has the basic raw materials, produces 1, epinephrine, I will abbreviate it, and 2, norepinephrine, N-O-R-E-P. That's number 2. And it produces the 28 sex steroids. So, due to my situation here, I'm going to review this one more time. Adrenal cortex outside of the gland here produces glucocorticoids, mineral glucocorticoids, DHEA, and controls and works with your salt pump. The adrenal medulla, the inside of the adrenal gland, actually produces epinephrine, norepinephrine, and your 28 sex steroids. Now, this whole entire gland's function is also to break down carbohydrate, fat, and protein metabolism. So now you understand why you're having trouble losing weight. This is very important. Now, the 14 different conditions that relate to this organ, I'm going to explain how it works. And we're first going to start with asthma. I have them listed here, the 14 of them. Asthma. So here's exactly what happens, ladies and gentlemen. When a person is or has a trigger of asthma, and about 70% happen in your own home. And I find that quite interesting. And you can look at all the asthma triggers in all the major websites. And they don't really specifically get into the triggers in a home, what they are. But they talk about dust and mold and exercise. But they don't talk about the chemicals that can trigger the asthma. Now here's exactly the mechanism of asthma. Epinephrine is a neurotransmitter, and so is norepinephrine, which makes you be able to think. So if you have an asthma trigger, something that bothers you or causes respiratory distress, your brain up here talks to your body down here and tells it what to do. So with asthma, the bronchioles are actually constricting because epinephrine's function is for vasodilation. That means it opens up your blood vessels. Norepinephrine is vasoconstriction. That means that it constricts your blood vessels. So epinephrine opens your blood vessels. Norepinephrine closes it. Now, how do you know it's completely true? If you're an asthma patient, you have an EpiPen. Because if you have an attack, they inject you with epinephrine, it opens your blood vessels so you won't have a real problem. In the military, a man gets shot, almost mortally wounded, they give him an epi shot to open his blood vessels to dilate him to buy time. So we know that this gland here is the secret that ties into asthma. This here opens and closes the blood vessels, produced by this, that goes to the brain, that comes down through the nervous system, and if the right nutrients aren't here, you're in trouble. Now, look at how many people in the world are on Viagra. It's unbelievable. There's 4 organs that make hormones: the liver, the pancreas, the adrenal gland, and other parts of the body. So doesn't it make sense to support the glands that produce the hormones so you can make the hormones naturally? Because, of course, the Primrin was out. We have trouble with that, which is from pregnant horse mare's urine. And then we have the patch. You know, we cannot fool Mother Nature, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what we're doing, and it just doesn't work. So I'm going to check these off as I'm going. because there is 14 of them. So we've touched on the asthma. We've also touched on the sexual function production. And let's talk about allergies. The aminoglucocorticoids work to help fight allergies. Now, we're all allergic to certain things, but this comes into interaction to help fight an allergy problem. So if this isn't working, your allergy defense system is considerably way down. So let's check that off of the system. Okay? Now, and of course we know DHEA is the anti-aging mother hormone, so that helps you to stop to get older. So we're going to check that one off too. Now let's talk about hypoglycemia. Are you a kind of person that falls asleep in the afternoon? Yeah, of course you are. You can't make it through the day? Well, epinephrine is released in response to low blood sugar, because if you're going to pass out, your body says, hey, I'm going to open up your blood vessels and make them bigger so we get more circulation to your brain so you don't pass out. So epinephrine is released when your blood sugar is low. This all has to do with a malfunction of this gland. And there's not a lot of tests you can do to prove this objectively, by the way. That you can't go in the front door and say, I want to get an adrenal test. You have to get backdoor tests to tie into it because they're not there specifically, which is hard to believe. Now here's what's really interesting. Let's talk about ADD and ADHD. This is rampant in the world. I'm going to tell you the mechanism of how Adderall works in the body. Well, I'm going to tell you, but I'm not going to write it down. Basically, what happens is that when a person takes the Adderall medication, it hypersecretes your adrenal gland to go into a fight mode. You think you're Rocky. So that's called the flight or fight syndrome. If you saw a bear, you're going to take off. Your body says, I'm taking over right now. The blood goes to your brain, to your legs, and your heart. It doesn't give a hoot about your digestion. So when a child takes the Adderall, it makes the adrenal gland think he's going to a boxing ring. It hypersecretes the epinephrine, norepinephrine, which makes their brain wake up. And this is one of the 11 neurotransmitters in my book coming out: constipation food, dumb food, eye food, fart food, smart food, and sex food, we hope. This is two of the 11 transmitters, but there's another one, so it's really 3 related. Because you need epinephrine to make serotonin so you can feel good about yourself. So, epinephrine is released as a brain transmitter to make these kids become smart temporarily. Of course, the side effects, we don't know what's going to happen. So, it only makes sense to fix the adrenal gland that makes the transmitters so you can become smart. And believe it or not, I never used to be so smart. And I studied nutrition all my life, and once you understand this, you really can turn your kid into a super kid. And there's no question about it, because they're lacking so much nutrition you don't even realize it. And so now we understand that epinephrine, norepinephrine also ties into memory. Okay, so now we understand fat carbohydrate metabolism with it. Okay, and we understand this isn't working. You're going to crave sugar, so that's hypoglycemia, tired in the afternoon, and skin aging. Again, it makes DHEA, which is for your skin. So don't you want to make DHEA so you can slow down your biological aging process? Who wants to be 50 and have the bones and blood vessels and the skin of a 50-year-old man? How would you like to be 60 years old and have the skin and the brain of a 40-year-old man? That's what I've studied all my life. How old are you? People say, Dr. Nick, how old are you? I said, what do you mean, chronologically or biologically? What are you asking me for? And I said, well, chronologically, I'm 59 years old. But biologically, I'm a lot younger than my age. This is real chemistry and nutrition, folks. This can be done. It's like someone who's had a car for 50 years, and that car was in the garage, the car got waxed, it didn't have antioxidants through it, oxidation, and it looks brand new like the one I just showed you. This is all chemistry. And if you go back and see my other videos, you understand how the vitamin deficiencies can affect it. So, let's talk about anxiety and panic disorders. They know that now is related to a serotonin and epinephrine deficiency. And I'm not saying everything is nutrition related, but if you've tried everything else, then it's probably a good place to start. And the last one I want to touch on is, well, actually not the last one, it's called POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. People are standing up, they're getting dizzy, This balance thing is huge. I've had patients basically who've had brain scans, CAT scans, eye scans, nose scans, wife scan, ear scans. They've looked for rocks in their little ear lobes and they can't find nothing. Then they say, Dr. Nick, what do you think it is? I say, you have every test under the sun that man can do on you, so it's your adrenal gland. Your balance has to do with these two hormones not opening up in a timely fashion, and that's why you're getting dizzy, because you have every test that I've ever seen, and they show negative. You're not out of your mind, ladies and gentlemen. This is biochemistry, and this is incredible. There's so many people out there who have balance problems, they don't have a clue what to do. And the other book I have is called Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall, and you know what? You can spend all your money and never get the right answer unless you find the right kind of physician for you. And that's what this is all about. Okay? So, now, let's see here. We have reviewed every single one of these that we want to do. And so that will absolutely close our discussion on the adrenal gland. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I remain Dr. Nicholas Sheffer.